Hi, this is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. Holla.
Hello, this is Faith, and you're watching The Faith Factor. I just kept to get on here. I have not been on here in a while, guys. It has been, almost a year now? It's been some months. I wouldn't say a whole year. It's probably been about maybe 6 or 7 months. And what brought me here was a tinge of insomnia. I'll just tell you, a tinge of insomnia. And these presidential kerfunkles, okay? I I just had to get on here and talk about that Kamala interview, talk about Trump. I just had so much. I guess you guys can look at my community tab. For anybody that's been on this channel before, you can see that I am just losing my mind on my community tab. But I want to get into it. I want to get into talking about the climate out here as far as these elections and how people are feeling about their presidential choices between Kamala and Trump. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Kamala has her diehard people that have always felt that they were going to vote a lunatic. They're going to still vote for. And Donald Trump too. He has his group of people. No matter how racist the left says he is, they can bring up all different types of stuff about Trump's past. Oh, he has a history of being racist towards black people. He refused to rent to black people. I hear that all the time. All the time. It really gets old, by the way. Oh, Trump's racist. He wasn't racist in the 80s, though. Can we talk about how Trump wasn't racist in the 80s and everybody loved him? Couldn't get enough of Trump in the 90s either. Or wasn't he on Oprah like, every other week? It seemed like from 1980 all the way up to 2016, as a matter of fact. So what happened? Why now all of a sudden he's racist? Don't nobody want to have nothing to do with him? He's an idiot. Let's talk about that. And then the other thing that people like to throw up to kind of, push the narrative, Trump's a racist, is the Central Park Five. They like to say that he posted this ad in 4 New York newspapers, paid all this money for advertising. And they like to say, oh, yeah, Trump called for the execution of these boys and they were innocent. They were all innocent. I got some thoughts on that too. And like I said, this channel, I'm just gonna let you know if you're coming in here right off the bat, I'm gonna give you a warning. Faith's a Republican. Faith is definitely a Trump supporter. I guess if you go through my community timeline, you'll kind of get the gist of that. I've been supporting Trump for years. I voted for him in the first time he ran. I voted for him the second time he ran, and I'm gonna vote for him again. And here's the reason why. Anybody that has been feeling the pressure of this economy, the high inflation, how you guys liking that, huh? How you guys liking the rent being double and triple what it used to be? How you guys liking Bidenomics? Is Biden's economy really working out for you that you will vote for 4 more years of what you're dealing with right now? How's that working out for you? Hmm? How do you like when you go grocery shopping and it seems as if the same groceries that you bought back when Trump was in office, now it seems like you're paying double? Well, guess what? It don't seem like it. You are paying double. For anybody that orders groceries off of the Walmart.com app, or even if you do the Instacart, I don't know if Instacart has it where you can go back into your history, but Walmart will let you go back into your history and it'll show you what you paid for your groceries back then. Go back into your history before Biden got in office and just hit reorder just to get what the new price for the same groceries you bought before he got in office cost. Some of you will be surprised. Some of you will be very surprised at what you get. You're going to get, not only did the cost of your groceries go up, but the taxes on your groceries also went up. How you liking Bidenomics? I don't think I like it too much. Now, I don't know about any of you, but out here in Phoenix, the average cost of gas out here, almost $4 a gallon. Teeter-tottering back and forth, getting very close sometimes to being $5 a gallon. How many of you like that? You know, when Trump was in office, we had lower fuel prices. Average cost of fuel was maybe about $2.95, $2.85. It was a lot cheaper than what it is now. So you can say what you want about Donald Trump. You can say he's a racist. He don't like no black people. You can say all of that all you want. One thing I have to admire about other groups of people when they come here and they do politics is that they don't care about liking the person that they're doing politics or doing business with. The only thing they care about is, does this person meet their bottom line? Only in Black America do we have disregard for our own best interests and our own bottom line, and we turn around and we vote and we make decisions based off our emotions. I don't like Trump. He's a racist. Guess what? There are a lot of Asians that voted for Trump, even though they didn't like his comments about China. It's the bottom line. That's what matters. But now, let me pedal back a little bit because I want to talk about some of the comments that I get, and I'm on social media all the time, and I get into the mud, in some of these online databases where they're like, chatting back and forth in these little chat rooms. And I had a couple of people tell me that I was stupid for supporting a man that would call for the death of the Central Park Five, and that these boys were found, innocent after a while. Like at first, they found them guilty, they locked them all up. But then after a while, they kind of let them off. And I want to talk about that for a little bit because shortly after that, they released a 400-page FBI file on that case. And Netflix gave us a special about it. They were so nice to give us a special, and it was completely biased, by the way. Left out a lot of, impertinent information, and it pretty much, Hollywoodized the movie. That's what they did. They put their Hollywoodization, or it's not a word. I know it's not a word, but they pretty much just put that type of stink on it. Bastardize the truth. And they know that a lot of us, we're not going to do our own research. We're going to look at that 400-page FBI document that was available to the entire public, and we're going to go, nah. Because they did. They put that FBI file out at the same time that they aired that Netflix movie about the Central Park Five. And we forego, looking at the actual evidence because we wanted to see the Hollywood version of the story. And like I said, sometimes I kind of think we like being finessed. I think we like being finessed. Because had you guys looked at that 400-page document, I know it's 400 pages. Some of you guys can't stand reading a 400-page novel, let alone facts. But there were a few things that I saw that kind of troubled me. Okay. Now in the movie, they made it seem like, oh, these big bad cops, they made them do all these confessions, and they were beating the hell out of them, and they was racist, and this was the theme all throughout the movie. Now, I like to compare what the FBI file said to what the actual people involved said later on in interviews right out their own mouths. I don't get my information from Hollywood. So one of the young men did an interview shortly after the whole, thing was over with, and they were released, and they got their, money and all that type of stuff. And what I couldn't help but notice is that what he said happened was very similar to what the movie portrayed. They were out in the park, they were hanging out with their friends, and they were doing this thing that kids like to do called wilding out. Well, if a lot of you don't understand what that term means, it's not Nick Cannon's wilding out. That's the East Coast term. They had something similar like that in Chicago. But basically, wilding out is when a group of people, usually young teenagers, it's mostly teenagers, they would get together on the weekends normally, and they would go in groups looking for innocent bystanders, innocent citizens who are just walking along, minding their own business, and they would do these criminal acts towards these individuals. They would assault these people. So that's where you have a lot of gang jumpings that used to occur all the time in Chicago, where you will see innocent people just being jumped and you don't know what was going on. So in the movie, they said that they're going to wild out, and they made it seem like it was innocent in the movie. But see, I grew up on the side of Chicago. I know what that term means. There's nothing innocent about that. It means that they're going to go and they're going to find an unsuspecting victim who's minding their own business, and they're going to either assault them or rob them. Now, usually it doesn't end up with somebody being raped and killed, but I'll get to that a little later. So these teenagers are out doing this, and this is a regular routine. So the movie made it seem like it's just teenagers hanging out, having fun, but they didn't portray what it really was. That's the reason why I have always maintained that those 5 boys, they weren't all that innocent. Another thing that I noticed is when I read the FBI documents, in one of the entries, one of the police officers recorded that one of the young men, when he got arrested, immediately started blurting out, I had nothing to do with raping that girl in the park. Well, during that time, the police had no information about a girl being raped. That was called in after they were being picked up in the park. So why would he just blurt that out all of a sudden? Yeah, you could say he's young and he's scared, or maybe he might be guilty. So for those of you just coming in, I'm talking about the Central Park Five now. I'm slow rolling through this because I want you to kind of understand where I'm coming from and why I have to go back this far as people saying Trump was racist for his statements and for his ad. I will reiterate, wilding out is not what Netflix made it seem like. Wilding out is not young kids just hanging out, having fun, having good, wholesome fun. I'm from Chicago. Those of you that live on the East Coast, you know exactly what that was. So now they're in the interviews and they're saying things like they were in the park and they stumbled across the girl and she was already unconscious and bleeding to death. One of the boys admitted that, okay, while they didn't rape the girl, according to what they said, one of the boys did admit to taking her Walkman, and that was also featured in the movie, which is also featured in the FBI documents. So you got young man saying this in the interview, the movie saying it, the FBI documents saying it. So I'm gonna go with that was true. So they did stumble across this woman at some point. My point is, everybody is saying these are innocent young people, didn't do nothing wrong. So these nice, innocent boys were in the park. They saw a young woman half beaten and half naked, dying. And instead of their first instinct being to help her, these nice, innocent boys, how Netflix tried to, put it out there to us, they said, "Oh, you know what? Let's steal her Walkman." That don't sound so nice. That don't sound so innocent to me. How many of you would stumble across somebody laying, a young woman laying down on the ground, bleeding half to death, half conscious, half dead, and you would just think to steal something from her, and then you have nerves and audacity to try to say that you're this nice person? I just want to remove the whole nice and innocent thing at this point because that flies out the window when you see this girl lying there unconscious, half naked, half dead, and you don't think to call for help. You don't think or have any type of humanity in you that this person needs help. But that's what they did. Netflix corroborated it, the FBI notes corroborated, and guess what? When they went on their interviews, they corroborated that that's what they did, using the excuse that they were just young. Now, I do believe that that young woman was raped and beaten before they got to her. But I don't believe for one second that when they got to her, all they did was just take her Walkman and leave her to die. Now, in the 400-page FBI document, there was also an admission that one of the boys made that he groped her breast, but that was all he did. And then also in the FBI document, when the case went to trial, one of the boys' DNA was found on the young woman's body. So you have DNA proof. The boys admitted that they were there. They admitted they stole the Walkman, but that's all they would admit. And they're such good, wholesome young boys that they did this, left the woman for dead, and when they heard the cops coming, they tried to run. Why are you running if you're not guilty? So I never bought that story that Netflix was trying to push down everybody's throat. I never bought it. And so did a lot of people. A lot of people didn't buy it. I'm a black woman. I didn't buy it. Why? Because I grew up around kids like that. So I know how it can be. So now, a lot of us, we knew what the real deal was. Same way a lot of us believe OJ was Simpson was guilty, but that's a whole nother subject. Why is it that the only time we can band together is for some bullshit? Now, they did interviews with people in the community later on after a lot of this happened. And a lot of people describe those boys as being thugs. That they were indeed out terrorizing the community on a regular basis. But I'm to sit here and believe that they were totally innocent. I'm not saying that they did rape that woman, but giving them total impunity, I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with rewarding thugs with money. They were definitely guilty of something. Definitely guilty of something. So now, enter Trump. And you know Trump, he's very opinionated. Very opinionated. Now, Trump posted some ads in 4 New York papers, some very, very prominent New York papers and tabloids. And he had the ad saying that, and I quote, New York needs to bring back the death penalty. For who? Not the Central Park Five. The ad read that he needed to bring back the death penalty for murderers. And then the body of that ad was basically him saying the same stuff that he says now about supporting law enforcement. That ad had nothing in it about the Central Park Five. So this was lies and propaganda by the leftist media. And people took this and ran with it and didn't even look it up or do any type of research. Now, what I will say is this. Trump did a few interviews. And in one particular interview, he was asked point blank, did he want to call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five? And that person who did the interview personalized it to those kids because that's how everybody perceived his ad. His ad did not mention those children at all. And that's how Trump got caught up in saying that if they are found guilty and if the young lady dies, which she didn't, then Trump said, yes, I believe that they should get the death penalty. And see, this is why context is important. He didn't mean this just for those boys. He meant that for anybody who murdered anyone. And his intentions were good at the time because there was a lot of crime in New York. So he wasn't just lashing out at the Central Park Fives in particular. The journalists that asked him those questions made it about that. But that wasn't what he was making it about. He was making it about the crime in New York overall. And this is why people, you don't let Hollywood tell you your history. You got to look this stuff up for yourself. The other thing that people would say, and they would make this case all the time, is that Trump is a racist because he has a history of denying, how can I say, housing or apartment rentals to people of color. So once again, this is where context matters. Because if you listen to a lot of these ignorant people, you'll find out that they just regurgitate it. They heard something and they regurgitated it until now everybody believes it. So let's take it back to 1968. Hillary Clinton was a lawyer back then. And her law firm was suing in a massive lawsuit. And when I say massive, this means that her law firm was not only suing Donald Trump's father's properties, but Hillary Clinton's firm was also suing properties all throughout the surrounding area. This was 1968, people. In 1968, Trump was approximately 22 years old. He was 22. He had not yet taken over his father's company. He was in a low level position managing some of his father's properties. And he had just started out when these lawsuits came into play. So this guy is fresh out of college, and his father is grooming him to take over the company at this time. So anything that was going on in 1968, that was something that was being done by Donald Trump's father, not Donald Trump. So in 68, Trump's father was being sued by Hillary's organization. In that same year, 1968, we had just passed the Fair Housing Act. So as soon as the Fair Housing Act was passed, Hillary Clinton and her team hurried up, jumped on the bandwagon, and they started suing all of these landlords, as well they should. Because if you think about what was going on in 1968, it was a very, very volatile, very, very discriminatory racial environment. 1968. Think about it, because context matters. Do you think that there was not a lot of discrimination going on back in 1968? Not just with Donald Trump's father's properties, but like I said, in that massive lawsuit, they were suing a lot of different properties, and everybody ended up settling, including Donald Trump's dad, because they were all guilty of discrimination back in 1968. All of them. But here we are blaming 22-year-old Donald Trump for the sins of the father. hmm I agree. Donald Trump probably did come from a very racist family, because if you look at 1968, and his father had been, in the real estate industry for years. Under Donald Trump's father, he never rented to black people. Never. When Donald Trump's father was running, um, it's not called Trump Organization anymore, or whatever Trump named it. During the time that Donald Trump's father had it, it was a different name. That man would not rent to colored people. It wasn't until 1971, Donald Trump at this time was 25 years old, and his father passed the reins over to him to manage his properties. And this was after the Fair Housing Act was signed. It wasn't until Trump took over that they started getting black people into those Trump properties. And a lot of it had to do with that Fair Housing Act and those lawsuits. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump was a saint, but I am saying that it didn't change until Donald Trump took over. And this is the story that a lot of people are not going to hear. Donald Trump was very young when those lawsuits were being levied against his father and his properties. The lawsuits was actually initially against Donald Trump's dad. Donald Trump stepped in and he inherited those lawsuits, and he inherited having to clean up that mess. And under Donald Trump, he was the first one to allow people into those properties who were of color. So that's the reason why I say to people, context matters. Do your own research. Don't get online listening to these people. Even me. If you hear me say something that you don't quite agree with, it don't quite sit right with you. Anybody that's ever been to my channel before, I tell you, even look up what I tell you. Call me a liar. I welcome. What would I say? I welcome the challenge. Tell me I'm wrong, but I bet you won't. A lot of you won't even look up this stuff. You're not going to pay attention to the dates. You're not going to put things into context. 1968 was a very, very revolutionary time period. We had just gotten a lot of different things passed for the betterment of Black people, like the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act. So, in coming out of Jim Crow, things like Jim Crow, you look at 1968 and what do you expect there to be but racism and discrimination during that time period? So it wasn't just Trump, Trump Towers, Donald Trump by himself. Donald Trump at 22, just stopped all of these Black people. He must have been stopping them since he was 15 then. And then he put in the work and he changed it. And today, Trump Tower, what do they call it? Exactly, Mel. Mel says it was literally the culture back then. So what do you expect 1968 to be like? No. 1968 was a whole nother time period. Had it hard. And Donald Trump wasn't the only racist white folk person back in that time. I'm not going to say that I don't think that he wasn't racist because his family was probably racist. Like I said, his father didn't have one Black person living in any of his properties. And it didn't change until they changed the laws. And then by the time Donald Trump was old enough to take over the business, he had to implement those laws and make sure that he was in compliance. So the changes didn't happen under his dad, it happened under the new generation. And Trump was the new generation. And what did you see happen after that? You saw Donald Trump hanging out with more Black celebrities. There's a clip of Donald Trump and Jesse Jackson where Jesse Jackson is praising praising Trump for the work that he's doing in the Black community. Donald Trump used to do a lot of work in the Black community. He was talking about opening up businesses so black people could have more opportunities to jobs and different things of that nature. And Jesse Jackson was actually praising and applauding him for doing that in a lot of poor communities. You have pictures of Donald Trump back in the day with Muhammad Ali, Donald Trump with Aretha Franklin, Donald Trump with Michael Jackson, Oprah. All these people love Trump. So what changed? What changed exactly? You know, I have a clip of Trump on my timeline when he was on Oprah's show many, many years ago. And Oprah was praising Trump. And you should have heard Trump was saying the same things back in 1988. This clip was that old, 1988. He was saying the same thing about, you know, our America outsourcing, companies going overseas, you know, supporting the police. He said a lot of the same things that he's saying now. His talking points never changed. This man never changed. And back then, Oprah was eating it up. She had him on his show literally. If it wasn't every other week, it was every month. She would have Trump on her show. They were best boon coon buddies and friends. She wrote him letters. And she did a show not too long ago with Gail, try to backtrack all the love letters she used to write to Trump. I mean, you can't backtrack those letters, Oprah, that you took with him. You can't backtrack having them on your show from 1988 to 2016. So why did Oprah switch up? Because same person since 1988. He didn't switch up on us. We switched up on him. And it was right about the time he announced that he was going to run for president. And I think the one, being a celebrity and a business mogul to being a politician. And we really didn't like the fact that not only did he run for president, but he ran as a Republican. I think that if Trump had run as a Democrat, none of y'all would, you know, have this feeling towards him that you have now. The Democrats would have loved him. But there were a lot of there were a lot of Democratic policies that Trump didn't agree with. And so that's the reason why he had to run as a Republican. And that's when we switched up on Trump. We switched up on Trump. Trump didn't switch up on us. Mel, I wanted the wall built too. Because right now, I'm not even going to get into the Venezuelans over there in Colorado taking over whole apartment complexes with AKs and rifles and the whole nine. It looked like a scene out of New Jack City, except for it was white Venezuelans. They've taken over those buildings like they took over the Carter in New Jack City. That's how bad it was. And people were being intimidated and becoming prisoners in their own home, right there in Colorado. And you don't think that this is coming to a city near you. But I lost my train of thought. I got to talking about those Venezuelans and got mad. But no, Trump's not a racist, guys. He's not. He didn't switch up on us. We switched up on him. He's been the same person since 1988. And we haven't given him a fair shake at all. We allowed a lot of liberal lies, leftist propaganda, taint our vision. And now we're out here voting, not in our own best interest, but because we were given stories to make us fear, stories to pull at our heartstrings. Yes, Mel. Trump has always been straight up. Love or hate Trump, he's always been a straight shooter. He has no filter. He doesn't. I remember one time he was talking at a pep rally and he was saying something about welfare. And this guy in the audience jumped up and he just started yelling and screaming, and he had to be escorted out by security. And it took like 6 or 7 security guards to get the guy out because the guy was so huge. And I love Trump because he's not politically correct. Trump stood on the stage and said, "Wow, I said something about food stamps," and this obese guy jumps up and he starts going insane. And the crowd went mad. I mean, they went wild. It was funny. Trump is a funny guy and he's blunt. He has no filter. He called that guy fat, said he was hungry or hangry. But love him or hate him, that's his personality. He has not changed his personality. I remember he did a CNN interview in 80, I think it was 89. And right there in the interview, Trump told the guy from CNN that was interviewing him to back up from him. He said, your breath smells really, really bad. He says, "Has anybody ever told you that?" And I wanted to die. He was live. Trump don't have no filter. He's one of those people that doesn't have a filter. We all have them in our family. They're called Big Mama. They're called Medea. But it's just it comes in a white male version. Trump is he just don't have no filter. But yeah, it was a lot of times that Trump just blurted out whatever he wanted to say out of his mouth, and people said that he did not deserve to be president because of his bluntness. But it's so funny how when Trump was president, people can say anything to Trump, they could do anything to Trump, but the minute he retaliated in kind after they launched attacks against him, all of a sudden he's not presidential. I think I probably would have did the same thing if people were trying to roast me 24/7. Yeah, I think a few people might have been called fat, ugly. you know, come on. Let's just keep it real. Exactly, Mel. Mel says I prefer most folks being that way, especially in this fake era. Yeah, there's a lot of fake folks out here. Won't be politically correct, nice nasty. I can't stand a nice nasty. Nice nasty people really get on my nerve because you don't like me, and so it comes out in the tone of your voice when you're talking to me. You're sarcastic. Save your nice, nasty tone, save your little sarcasm and your little quips and all that type of stuff. Let's just get to it, bitch. I don't like you. You don't like me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm over here cursing. Just tell me you don't like me. And that's how Trump is. He's just going to let you know. When he started going at it with Rosie O'Donnell, oh, I felt so bad for Rosie O'Donnell. Trump used to go in on her. Not only did he call her fat, but he said that she was not a very attractive woman. So the point I'm getting at is a lot of the stuff that you guys don't like about him, a lot of the things that you have said about him being racist, you guys have not done any research. You're taking a lot of stuff out of context, and context matters. Go back and read that newspaper clipping that he posted. He didn't mention the Central Park Five. You said that he never rented to people of color. He was only 22 and he was not the one in charge of his father's real estate company. His father was. So those were the sins of the father. Context matters. Oh, no, no. You're not going to have to wonder with Trump at all. So now getting into this whole election thing, Kamala's running. And like I said, I was kind of on the fence about it at first because at first I thought of Kamala as being a black woman. And the reason why I thought she was a black woman is because when Biden ran for office, do you guys remember Biden specifically saying that his vice president was going to be a woman and she was going to be black? And next thing you know, Kamala was on a ticket with him. So so I thought she was black. So when you guys see that meme about, when they had a meme about Kamala and it says, did anybody say a black job? That's what they were talking about because Biden said that he was going to put a black woman as his vice president. And Kamala stepped right up there and got that black job. For anybody that asks the question, what's a black job? And that was until I saw clips of her and I saw her on different shows. And all of a sudden, after, she became VP and she wasn't running for president anymore, she's Indian. After that, all the black talk just went away. Like what happened to the I'm black y'all, and I'm blackety blackety black y'all? What happened to that? All of a sudden you see her on an Indian network doing an Indian cooking show, and the lady was so nice and she's talking to Kamala and she's going, yeah, I'm so excited, because you're the first black Indian vice president because we're both Indian, right? And Kamala looked at her and said, yeah, yeah. She answered that real quick and then shuffled it on. She's real quick to tell that lady, yeah, oh yeah, we Indians, we girls. Real fast to answer that. Yeah, yeah, girl. Of course, yeah, yeah, we Indian. My mother we used to go to India, in the fall, every fall. So now Kamala's running again, and she's got Meg the Stallion at the DNC, and she's got all these black people kissing her ass. Who was that? That one guy from the Migos was at the DNC, and all of a sudden she's like cool Kamala, blackety blackety black. Like what happened to the Indian? Because I mean, I did think she was black at first. When she became the vice president, she was the first. She got the black job. She was in line for that black job. Then she went from being black to being on the cooking show, and I'm Indian. And now she's black again. Now that she's running for president, and she's trying to cater to the black vote because they still don't have enough illegal immigrants here to cheat in the election. And black women are eating it up too. I've never been so disappointed in black women online. And it's not I'm not disappointed that you who you want to vote for. But when you have civilized adult debate about why you selected her, sisters, hold on. Sisters, let me holler at y'all for a second. Y'all be online looking and sounding crazy. I had one woman tell me, I'm just voting for her because she's black and she's a woman. So let me get this straight. I asked her, I said, so what's her policies? And I was really interested to know because I didn't know what Kamala's policies were. So I thought maybe, we the most educated group here. By the way, we're looking bad for being the most educated group. By the way, I just wanted to let some of y'all know. We're the most educated group of women in this country, allegedly. But so many of you all are online sounding stupid. Like you ain't got no education. Like you ain't got no skills of doing any critical thinking or research or nothing. So she comes back at me with an ad hominem attack about something I had on in my photograph instead of asking my question about Kamala Harris's policies. My people, my people, why do we do this? Why? So now, in order to get me to stop asking you about Kamala's policies, you're going to launch an ad hominem attack. So now I'm supposed to be distracted because now you got me arguing with you over nonsense. Nah, sis, it don't matter what outfit I got on, or you don't like how my hair is done, or whatever it is you can think. I still want you to answer the motherfucking question. So what is it other than the fact that she's a woman and she's black that you're voting for? Crickets. Every time. Crickets. And then more insults. You're a fool. You're a dummy. I felt like I was in second, third grade. You a duty head. Oh, we don't have to we don't have to know her policies. All we got to know is she black and we got to support other black people. Y'all sound stupid. And this is the reason why we're left behind. Because everybody else around us is playing chess. We're not even playing checkers. We're not even playing what's another game? Spades. No, at this point we're playing Go Fish. It's really sad. Go Fish. You know when Barack Obama, the first time I voted for Barack, I remember having a moment of clarity, and I said, you know what? I don't really hear Barack saying too much about what he gonna do for black people. And I was like I was young. I was like in my early 20s back then. And someone told me that I had to just don't worry about it. Don't worry about the fact that he ain't said nothing, what he gonna do for us. We just gotta get him in. And then when we get him in, that's when he can do stuff for us. You know how we gotta do. We just gotta get him in. That's what they told me back when Barack Obama first became president. And that was for the first term. So my little naive behind voted Barack Obama. You know, a lot of black people voted for him because he was black and we wanted a black president. I didn't know the concept of biracial because he looked black to me. And that's how, Kamala comes off to us. She looked black to us. So we voted for him and we waited for him to do something for us. And he went on to talk about gay rights. I remember that. I remember the gay rights stuff. So I was like, okay, yup, cool. Said nice Barack, and he was smooth. He would go on Oprah show and all these different shows, and he was real charismatic, great speaker, and for the first 4 years, I was enchanted with him and Michelle and his life and watching Michelle and him on TV, and I forgot all about, damn, this nigga ain't did shit for us. It was like we were all under a spell. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That it just felt good to see that charismatic, well-spoken black man in office. I ain't gonna lie. And we were all in love with Barack, fantasized about him and everything. Right. Mel says we was at mom and dad screaming and hollering. We were so excited. Yeah, everybody was excited for Barack. So then it came a time for us to elect him again. And this time we were in love with the Baracks, just the whole family, and Michelle included, because we got to know Michelle and the babies within the 4 years, and we watching the babies grow up. It was like watching the Cosby Show all over again with Michelle and Barack in the White House. I just voted because I just wanted to just keep them in the White House. At this point, I'm not even voting based off of what the hell this nigga gonna do for us. And so the second time I voted for him, I had a moment of clarity again. I was like, you know what? You know what? You know what? Wait a minute. Did this nigga do anything for us? And I had to think about it. I'm like, no, he didn't. Well, who's offering us anything? Well, I didn't see nobody else offering us anything. I ain't gonna lie, that was the whole vibe back then. Hey, vote for Barack just because he black. Yes, it was enchanting. So he passed more laws for the LGBTQ in his second term, and that kind of pissed me off. That I ain't gonna lie, that did kind of piss me off. I was like, okay, Barack, enough of this LBGTQ stuff, And then black people started grumbling towards the end of his term because it became very clear to us that we had 8 years of a black man being president, and we didn't get shit. We got nothing. And you would think after that experience, black people would have wised up, right? You would have thought that after we got hit back with the banana in the tailpipe the first time, that we not gonna get tricked by the banana in the tailpipe a second time. But no, here come Kamala, and she got the black job because our boy said he was going to have a black female vice president, and Kamala hurried up, raised her hand. I'm black. She was black for that. She was black that day when she got the job. You would think that black people would learn our lessons. I remember, Kamala is Stacey Dash all over again. Y'all remember Stacey Dash and how she made her little comments about black people and she was riding her little white, you know, high horse and all that type of stuff, and she got her Negro wake up call, or her biracial Negro barely passing Negro wake up call, kind of like Meghan Markle. Even though she could pass more than Stacey Dash could. So now we got Kamala. And then I have to question, because she said she was Indian majority of the time that she was under Biden, vice president. And then she kind of hid away for a while because, people were questioning her about that border. So she ducked and hid for 4 years. We didn't see her no more after they were questioning her about the border. And she was Indian when it comes time for Biden to run for a second term and he can't do it. The Democrats start getting, how can I say, nervous. They're shaking because now they got to find a candidate that they think can win. And here's the thing that I want to also point out. How the hell do you pick a Democratic nominee without a vote? I thought last time I checked, it's part of our democracy. We're supposed to have these elections for these things. You have an election for the Republican nominee. He has to run against all the other Republicans, and then he has to get voted in by his party, you know. And then you have an election for Democratic nominee. They got to run against all the other Democrats. They got to do all these debates, and then they got to get voted in by their party. This is the first time in U.S. history where we could just go and usurp the rules and just say fuck an election. We just gonna switch Kamala for Biden. I've never seen nothing like that before. Has anybody ever seen anything like this before? And the thing about it is, there were other Democratic candidates that ran against Biden that actually had more votes than Kamala. But because the Democrats didn't like any of their choices, they said, fuck the rules. We just switcheroo. Okay, Kamala, you got it. You got the black job. First black female president to run for office. We think that we can make this stick. We think we can utilize the identity politics with the black people and fool them again. Identity politics work once. Identity politics work twice. It might work for us a third time. So that's the reason why they ignored everybody else that had more votes than Kamala, by the way. They ignored them and jumped straight to, we ain't gonna even have no elections. Just switch. Come on, Biden. Tap Kamala in. We gonna go with the wrestling rules. Tap her in. Because Trump was killing Biden in those debates. If this was worldwide wrestling, Biden was being held down in the little wrestling hole that Hulk Hogan used to put people in, where he would choke them up with the legs, and then the guy be laying out on the mat dying with his hand out trying to tap his partner in. Biden reached his hand out and Kamala reached her hand out and he tapped her in. I never seen nothing like this. You can get tapped in to a Democratic nomination. I didn't know that. But the you can't make this up. Can anybody say constitutional crisis? Is America in a constitutional crisis yet? And so that's why I posted the thumbnail. Look, I said all this to say this is why that thumbnail is up there. Because people sit up here and they tried to justify that the Democrats did not steal the election from Trump the first time with those broken ballot machines. The same broken ballot machines where if you go in and you're a Republican and you punch that you're voting Republican and you're voting for Trump, but it automatically switched the name and made it seem like you were voting for Biden. Yeah, those voting machines. But they said they didn't cheat. They said it's all good. Biden really did win, even though Trump was in the lead in a lot of the states. He was in the lead. But hey, we believe the Democrats. And see, when they said that they didn't cheat and they went through the whole motions of, oh, we're gonna recount and you can get your people on here and have your people count with us and all this other stuff, I don't believe them now. I believe they might have been paying people to throw it Biden's way. I don't trust the Democratic Party anymore. After I saw how they tapped Kamala in. So we got a stolen election. twice, a stolen election, a stolen Democratic nominee. And Walls, they're talking about he has stolen valor. I don't know too much about that, but it was funny, so I left it up there. But yeah, when they did that with Kamala, that made me think that Trump was probably right, that they did rig the election. And it made me think of something that Biden said when he got elected into office. He said the first thing he's going to try to do is fast track 4 million immigrants into citizenship. Fast track, he said. 4 million, he said. And then when Trump came out with voter ID, which would require a U.S. citizen to be verified and have a voter ID when you go in person to vote, and before you can even have a mail-in ballot. And he wanted to actually take away the whole mail-in ballot thing, because there's so many ways you can cheat with that too. Although I do like the mail-in ballot, I use it a lot, but I mean, I don't mind going to the poll. But I see his point with that. Because the Democrats, when I heard, what they were saying, that they were, the way that the Democrats was making it sound, they were making it sound like our voting rights were in jeopardy. But they weren't talking about our voting rights. They were saying that if they make you get the voter ID, the poor people are the ones that are going to suffer the most. And see, before I knew what the whole um sensation was behind this whole voter ID thing, I didn't think it was a big deal. As I was with the Democrats at first. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Why Trump tripping? Why you want people to have this extra ID? What's wrong with my ID I get from the DMV? Then I see where the Democrats are trying to give undocumented immigrants driver's licenses. Wait a minute, how you gonna give somebody undocumented a driver's license? And once you have a driver's license, then you could use that to register to vote. So this is why they didn't want the voter ID. Everything started clicking. You have that aha moment. Exactly, Mel, because he saw how they was moving. See, Trump is smart. Trump is a businessman. He be seeing this stuff a mile away. And so I had my aha moment. I was like, okay, Trump, I see what you putting down here. Then out here in Arizona, Democrats are sitting up here arguing with the officials out here because they want to push for same day voter registration. And so I said, wait a minute, same day voter registration? Now, I remember when I registered to vote. Do you guys remember when you registered to vote? Some of you did it at the DMV. Some of you didn't do it until it became available to do so online. But if you were registered with the DMV and you had your driver's license or state ID, in order to get those two documents, you would have had to show proof of citizenship to this country. Social Security card, birth certificate, things that would have shown that you're a citizen. So when you registered to vote, they would have used that information to verify your citizenship. And so sometimes the verification process would take maybe 2 weeks. And then you all got your voter registration card in the mail 2 weeks after you registered. Now tell me if I'm lying about this. You didn't get a voter registration card the same day you registered. You got your voter registration card 2 weeks later because they had to verify your citizenship to put you on the voter registry. But if they do same day voter registration, how the hell are they going to verify citizenship? And so that's when I got my second aha moment. I was like, oh, damn, Trump, you know what? Mother, you right. You are so right. Damn. You can't verify citizenship in one day. You can't do it. So if you're trying to push same day voter registration, because once again, and there's certain rules. Some people are not able to vote in certain elections until they have been registered. You have to register at least 11 days prior to an election out here in Arizona. You have to be registered 11 days prior, or you can't vote in that election. You have to wait till the next election. Democrats are trying to do away with that. So why are you trying to skip over all the protocol and then try to serve it up to blacks and minorities as if their voting rights are in danger? Because that's how they were making me feel. Because at first I was like, wait a minute, Trump, why you want us to have this voter ID? How come I can't continue to vote with my mail-in ballot? And I was kind of getting upset myself. Like, okay, are you being racist? No, no, he wasn't. He was being strategic and smart because he knew what they were up to. And see, that's the reason why you all have to become critical thinkers. Always question everything. Hell, I mean, the Democrats are so good, they even had white liberals coming on television, you know, crying on behalf of minorities, saying, well, the voter ID, if you do that, the poor minorities, they might not be able to vote. And you want them to be able to vote. It's gonna affect them, because what if they can't get access to a voter ID? It has nothing to do with American voters. They could care less. They know that they got a certain number or a certain group of people that's going to vote for them regardless. They're trying to get a permanent voting class because they see that black people are divided now when it comes to voting Democrat. And so, in order to replace those of us who will no longer be supporting them, like myself, enter all these damn immigrants. And what makes me so angry about this, what makes me so freaking angry about this, is that the Democrats' thirst to stay in power override the safety and the well-being of the American people. I'll say that again. The Democrats' thirst to be in power overrides the safety and the well-being of the American people. So no wonder when Biden and Kamala got into office, Kamala went and hid for the last 3.5 years because she got tired of people asking her to go visit the border. And she knew she wasn't going to be able to keep answering questions about why she won't do anything about that border being open. She's not doing anything about that border being open because their plan is to let them come in here. Mel says, yep, if faith is like black people just aren't paying attention to any of this. Always a day late and a dollar short. And that's what's going to happen if we let Kamala in there. Kamala is a political puppet, in case any of you all are not paying attention. Who needs to bring someone for support to do a taped, pre-recorded interview? Who does that? Trump didn't need any support when he went out doing his interviews and answering his questions, and his vice president went on the same. He was interviewed by the same interviewer that interviewed Kamala and Vance, and he was there without Trump. So I want you all to just listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to give it to you as, how can I say, I'm trying to give it to you as plain as I can make it. I want to make it plain so that it can be no mistaking what I'm trying to tell you. And this is the reason why I have decided to go and vote for Trump. Because I see the corruption on the other side. I see how the other side play us like chess pieces on a chessboard. And we're not even important pieces, by the way. We're just pawns. A picture of a car with an open door and a guy being kicked out. And over the car, it says, "This is the Democrats." This is the Democrats, and then this is black people after the election. They're just going to kick us out and keep going. They're not going to take us on the ride with them. They're not going to do anything for you. Once they get what they want for you, they do what they always do. You're ignored until the next election cycle. Aren't you all tired of that same vicious cycle playing out over and over again? Some of y'all are gluttons for punishment. I can't underestimate the thought process of some of y'all. I mean, this is a group of people with the mentality of man sharing is okay, being a sad chick is okay. I mean, we have really, really gotten used to just scraping the bottom of the barrel in life. That even within our own culture, we scrape the bottom of the barrel. So how can I expect us to want better when we don't even want better for ourselves half the time. And I mean, it's sad. It's sad. You would think we would all know this by now, but there's so many people. You would be surprised. I be on these online groups and in the chat rooms, and I'm having little conversations with about the election and stuff, and you'll be surprised at some of the stupidity that comes out. The stuff that these people say. She don't need no policies. What she need policy for when she black? That's enough for me. And then when you say, but she not black though, then they get real mad. And see if you order mad, and especially if it's a black woman, you tell that black woman that Kamala is not black because that's the only reason they voting for her. She ain't got no policies. And they'll tell you, I'm so tired of y'all asking about her policies. Well, the Boule black people are the ones who benefit the most because they think that their HBCUs are going to get support and all this other stuff. They're the Boule, AKAs, Talented 10th. Like I said this before, they have done actually more to hold back black people than the goddamn KKK. If you've ever been at a job or organization trying to move up the ladder, and there was a black person there, and you just felt in your soul that that person was holding you back, it's because they gonna rally for their AKA sister or their talented 10th sister or their boule sister or brother. So if you're not part of their small teeny tiny group, they will sabotage you in the career place and in the workplace. Yes, they will sabotage you. I had it happen to me. And I didn't understand at the time what was happening because I went to a community college the first few years of my college before I started doing my internships. I was going for occupational therapy. And I started my internship. I was very proud. I had two hospitals out of Chicago that I did internships at, and that was Holy Cross and St. Bernard Hospital. And I remember at Holy Cross, I was so excited because my mentor was another black woman. So I'm like, yay, I didn't get any of these racist white people up in here. And at that time, I'm young, I'm like 18, 19. I didn't know that it wasn't the racist white people that I had to worry about. But this sister, she had gone to a HBCU and all this other nanny and stuff, and there was another black occupational therapist lady there, and they were both AKA or whatever you want to call it, and I had no idea that they were targeting me and setting me up for failure. So I would go in every day and I want to learn and kind of get my because you had to check off certain things on your checklist while you're doing your internship, and you're supposed to turn it in to your instructors before they accept. You got to have so many hours of doing this, that, and the other. So I could never get any of the things that I wanted checked off my list. I was getting the hours in. I had all these clocking all these hours, but I could never get none of the stuff checked off my list because there was another girl there with me doing an internship, and she went to the same HBCU. But I wasn't peeping the game. Oh yeah, Mel, I'm from Chicago. I wasn't peeping the game. I didn't understand what was being done to me. So they poured everything into this other girl. They helped her get every item on her checklist checked off. Me, they had me watering plants. And one day I got tired and I said, "Hey, I would like to get some items checked off too." And what did I say that for? They looked at me, gave me the stink face, and acted as if I was insulting them. You know how we like to act insulted when people call us out on our bullshit. So I was calling them out on their bullshit about not, doing the proper work with me like they were doing with the other lady. Like, hey, I'm not going to be up in here clocking all these hours and not getting my shit done. Oh yeah, non-swirl zone is a very good profession. I wish I had not changed my major, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But I was kind of how can I say let's just say I didn't feel motivated anymore because it felt as if I had to fight to get every little thing done because of them bitches. So, sometimes it'll be your own people putting them roadblocks in front of you, making it difficult for you to succeed. Now, I don't know what they got out of blocking me the way that they did, but yeah, it sometimes it be your own people that look just like you. But they were part of an AKA organization and they looked out for their own first. And that's just how it is. Oh yeah, it did play a very huge part. Very huge part. So yeah, you sometimes you gotta watch some of these people that come up in here, doing this stuff. Now I want to acknowledge the super chat that I got from Non Swirl Zone. He says, laughing my ass off at that video thumbnail. Thank you so much, Non Swirl Zone. I appreciate the super chat. Yeah, the thumbnail is definitely meant to be satire. It's meant to be satire, but it's true. It is very true. I'm sorry. I had the wrong. Thank you so much, Non Swirl Zone. I appreciate you contributing to the channel. I don't get on here much anymore, but I do appreciate when people take the time out to support. I don't have all of my little graphics and everything because I just jumped on here late at nighttime to ramble. Non-swirl zone also says, "Do you think it's more so with women than men?" Roadblocks. No, no, it could be men too. I have seen men block the way for people too. Now, the way that black AKA men usually block the way for other men is they would only look out for their brothers as well. And if you're, not within the organization and you're a woman, they might try to trick you into sleeping with them, before they will do anything for you, or even then they probably won't do anything for you. I've seen, like I said, I've seen a lot of stuff with that whole AKA talented 10th, boule bullshit. It be your own people. There was one guy, he was a director at Verizon Wireless when the Verizon Wireless first became successful. And I remember he got a sister fired because she refused to sleep with him. And he was on this whole, boule bullshit. But like I said, I have numerous stories I can tell, but that's a different topic for another day. Because with that AKA talented tent boule stuff, I can go into the history of that, and it would take me hours, hours, I tell you, to just unravel that conversation. Non-swirl zone also says it's strange with all these rich celebrities supporting Democrats in light of the conditions in our neighborhoods. Migrants seem to be winning in Chicago and New York. Oh, definitely. And now in Colorado too. And now Colorado too. So, I don't understand why there are actually black people talking about they would vote for Kamala, who has been in office 3.5 years already, ain't done a damn thing. She didn't do a damn thing when she was president, that she's going to do more than what she's done while being already in office. And I ain't gonna lie, some of you people, some of y'all are out here eating this up. You're really, really falling for the banana in the tailpipe again. So I don't know what to tell y'all, but I do know it's getting late. It's 12 a.m. out here. I didn't even plan to talk this long. Who wants me? Let me know. Yes or no? Do you want the panel open? No? You think this is enough? Nasro Zone said Colorado. Oh, George Floyd bill still not passed. Exactly. Okay, there's a no for non-swirl zone. Yeah, I'm thinking that it's kind of late myself. I just wanted to get on here because I had to vent this out to somebody. Because after watching that train wreck of an interview that Kamala did, and like I said, I don't even have to go into the details of that train wreck interview. But did you know that directly after that CNN interview that Kamala did, she started to slide in the polls? And so now Trump is the favored candidate. So unless, Kamala pulls it together, here's what Kamala's going to have to do if she wants a chance. Because, see, right now her hands are tied. I remember when Kamala was on that debate stage when she was running for president the first time. And this is not that same Kamala. We're not getting DA Kamala right now. We're getting Kamala the hand puppet. That's what we're getting. And I don't know what they did to her after she became the VP, but it looked like all the power has been sucked out of her. She was a lot stronger when she was running for president the first time around. No, this Kamala's different. This Kamala's goofy. She's got a nervous laugh. She seems like she's high all the time. I gotta get high all the time. I forget that song. I like that song, but yeah, Kamala looks like she's getting high. Some people when they're smoking weed, they get the giggles. That would probably explain some things about Kamala. How many of you think they should start drug testing for the position of president? Bet a lot of people would be disqualified. Bet you Kamala would be disqualified if they did a hair follicle test. Mr. Giggler. So yeah, those are things that I think about. When I think about this whole political climate that we're in right now, it's a weird time. It's a weird time to be a voter. you know, because of what we're witnessing now as voters, we've never had to deal with in any other time in history. I remember back during my mom and dad's time when they were voting, the candidates would come out respectfully, shake hands on the debate stage, and they would talk about the policies. There was none of this needling back and forth. It's just become a three-ring circus. It's like a reality show in politics, a political reality show. Non-swirl zone says Kamala never put in the work for the nomination. Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. Non-swirl. He says, "Do you ever think that behind the scenes they'll make president whomever they choose?" I think about that now. I was talking about that earlier with the whole notion that President Trump was saying about them cheating him out of the first election, and how he was gung ho on getting the voter ID, and all of that different stuff. I don't want to go over it again, but yeah, I think that the Democrats, I see a lot of cheating on the side of the Democrats. Like, can we say constitutional crisis? I know I said this earlier, but let's say it again. Constitutional crisis. Like, you're supposed to be voted in, and they just went and tagged her in like, oh, no, no, no vote. We ain't got to vote. We know who we want. But hold on a second. There were other people here that had more votes than Kamala. So you just going to ignore them? Yeah, we don't like none of them. Just tap her in, Biden. Come on, reach your hand out, tap her in. I mean, that's literally what they did. She didn't have to work for it. Yeah, everything's different. It's not as serious. The media really wants Kamala to win. Yeah, I know. Mark Zuckerberg just came out not too long ago, and he admitted that he was being pressured over there at Facebook to suppress a lot of people, posting things about the Democratic Party that showed them in a bad light. He, made a confession. I think he had to do it because they were looking into it, and they were being found out. So it's a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of changing of the narrative. Like, I don't even believe these polls when they say that Kamala's in the lead. I don't believe that Kamala's leading anything. I don't think anybody that's in their right mind is really taking Kamala seriously. I think they're fudging the numbers, personally. But we'll see come November 5th. I just hope that, instead of get your booty to the poll, it need to be get your birth certificate to the poll. Because I don't know. I just have a feeling that the fix is gonna be in again. They're gonna fix this election. And see, if they do this, this is gonna make me not want to vote anymore. Because now, what's the whole point of voting if they're gonna keep fixing these elections? So we have a constitutional crisis. Our democracy is definitely in a crisis. And this country is going to become a third world country like Venezuela, because communism is going to be here. And that's if we don't get taken over completely by the Venezuelan gangs and the drug cartels. So it's definitely a time to be afraid. Be very, very afraid. I mean, I'm not trying to, strike fear or anything, but it's stuff that I think about every day. I think about these things every day, and it does frighten me. I'm afraid for my children and the generations to come after that, because they're really the ones that's going to suffer. And we're going to have to eat that. We voted based off our emotions and not with our best interests at heart. And we didn't set up something good for the next generation. So, if you guys are still on the fence, think about some of the things that I said, share the video, like the video. And with that, I'm out. Peace.